Hello my dear sewing friends, welcome back to the Thrift Flip series on my channel, and today, hold on, I gotta grab it. Today we're going to be upcycling pants. Now here I have 5 different pairs. They are all either mine or of my family's, and usually in these kind of videos, and today is going to be no exception, so usually I do 3 different projects, and it just so happens that this time I have 5 different pairs to work with. So we'll see what our options are, we'll see what we could choose from. Maybe there's going to be an extra project, so who knows. And from what I can tell looking at this and what I already have in my mind, some of these are going to be really easy and really straightforward, and some of these are going to be, as always, a little bit more creative, a little bit more complex, maybe even on the whimsical side. So without any further ado, let's get started. For this first project, which is probably going to be the most complex out of them all, I really want to start with this pair of pants. And these pants, I kid you not, they're probably about 10 years old, if not older. I bought them back when I lived in Riga, which is where I'm from. I remember exactly when I bought them. I remember the shelf. I remember that these were like 39 lats, where in Latvia they were still using lats instead of euros. And I just very vividly remember how I bought them, why I bought them, and at that point in my life I was in my early 20s, but nowadays they're not necessarily that practical and I haven't worn them in years. You might say, what? You've been saving these for all this time for what, for an upcycle? And yes, I have, because they have a lot of interesting details over here. We have ruching on the back waistband, which can be used in a variety of different ways. We have some really interesting belt loops, a really neat pocket that opens into the waistband instead of a side seam, and of course we have a little casing that gathers the leg on the bottom. So basically a lot of moving parts that I can work with, and that's what really attracts me, and I have an interesting idea how to put these all together in a completely different way. I think I just need to get started with cutting some of this apart, at least those parts that I know that need to come off anyway, because with the pant leg I have to figure out where to cut it, because part of it is probably going to be a sleeve. So yeah, I just need to get started with cutting, because otherwise I'll be staring at this and we all know how it goes, right? The fabric here is quite lightweight cotton, and as you have already gathered, the plan is to make it into some sort of blouse slash shirt or something similar. Now, when upcycling pants, I find that the most challenging part is to actually estimate how much fabric you have, and oftentimes it is not as much as I think, which, by the way, always proves to be a challenge. Now, for a base of this design, I am going to take a simple button-up shirt like this one that I made some time ago. And if you are a member of this channel, first of all, thank you so much for your support, and check out your members' perks. There is a full mini-series regarding drafting a button-up shirt from a bodice block. Now, after I cut all of this apart, of course, none of the fabric that I have is enough to cut a one solid pattern piece. So here's what I'm going to do. First, since I don't have enough fabric to cut either the front or the back, I'm going to start by eliminating the side seam and instead create a side panel where I can hopefully incorporate some of that shirring that we previously saw on the waistband of the pants. I'm going to start working on the back pattern piece first, because I always find it a little bit easier, but in this case I can't get rid of the center back seam because I simply don't have enough fabric. And here I thought, you know what, let me add a little bit of embroidery to this mix. Now I can't show you much just yet, it's a little bit of a secret, but what I can tell you is that I have I have a new sewing machine. You can tell I'm really excited. And what I can tell you is that you will see this sewing machine fully in the upcoming episode on the channel. You will see everything that it's capable of, what I tested it on, what it can do, along with some amazing deals to save you a little bit of money if you are in the market of purchasing a new sewing machine. I can't show you the embroidery that I did on it though, and it was a breeze. It was really fun, and I sort of used this embroidery as a glue to put all of the pieces of fabric together into one back pattern piece. Now here you can see how it looks. We have a back yoke and then two embroidery strips. One goes horizontally and the other one vertically. Now onto the side panels. And here I used little remnants of the fabric that I had here and there from cutting the back pattern pieces. And because the shirred panel wasn't as big as needed, I decided to create a sandwich from it. And this is what it looks when it's all put together. So the back is done. I completed the side panels. Now onto the front pattern pieces, and oh boy, where to begin? The big challenge here was, of course, that I had to piece it from different cuts of fabric, and because of that I decided to do a shoulder yoke. Now for the shoulder yoke, the initial idea was to also do embroidery on it, but after I completed the embroidery, I don't know, it just looked odd. It didn't really look right, so I decided to chop it off. And then the question was what to do instead of that, and I looked to the side of my table and I see the leftovers of that shirred panel, and I thought, what if I have enough in order to create a shoulder yoke from that shirred panel? And by the chance of luck, I had enough, so I thought, let's do this. Now before attaching the shirred yoke, I decided to do embroidery on the button plackets of the front pattern pieces, and of course I did that when I was tired, and one of the button plackets, the embroidery on it is a little bit off, and when I look at it I can't unsee it. And I absolutely hate when things like that happen, because there's no way that embroidery is coming out of that button placket without damaging that really lightweight cotton. So in this case I decided, okay, how can I do a little bit of damage control and really just resolve it without recutting the pattern pieces, because I don't have enough fabric for it. So I decided to cut off those little ties that I had on the original pants and sort of use them as a way of disguising a little bit of that mistake that I made. Here I also wanted to say that each upcycle is absolutely unique, and it can be challenging in its own way, because each one of us is working with a different garment, with a different amount of fabric, with the different types of fabric. But if you do need a very specific detailed tutorial on, let's say, how to finish a neckline, or how to finish a hem, or even how to do shirring, your own shirring, if you want to create something from scratch, then I do have all of those really detailed step-by-step tutorials on my channel. Everything from techniques to drafting your own garments, you'll find it there, and I will leave some links for you guys right in the description underneath this video. After the yoke was attached, the side panel was sewn in, and of course minor things like finishing up the hem and doing the buttonholes. All I had to do is to insert the sleeve, and out of everything that I've done today for this blouse, I think this is by far the easiest thing out of them all. All I needed to do is to cut the sleeve a little bit on the angle, because when we look at our arm, it travels the longer distance up the shoulder than it does into our armpit. So I had to cut it on the angle to accommodate that, then gather it up with a basting stitch and put that inside of the armhole, and that's it. Let's take a look at the final result. was interesting. And as much as I really loved the final result, it did take a while, right? But it was well worth all the detail and time and construction and everything. But right now I think we're ready for like a quick and easy, super straightforward palette cleanser. Now these are the leggings that I made for my daughter and she wore them really well. But right now I have three little things that I have to fix. Number one, the fabric on the knees has rubbed off because this is foil coated fabric. They're also a tad too short because, as you know, kids, they just grow so fast. And I also have to replace the elastic. I have to make it a little bit looser. And because the fabric is so very stretchy, she can have probably another 6 months of wear, really good wear out of these. So that's exactly what's on my plate right now. So let's do this. So for starters, I cut off the waistband of the top of the leggings, and then I moved down the knee, and I've decided where exactly I want to cut these apart so that way I can turn them into shorts. Now anytime that you're cutting anything off and you want to hem that part, you have to remember to add a little bit of length for the hem, usually about an inch, like 2.5 centimeters, sometimes perhaps half of that amount, but it just really depends on what kind of hem you're going to do. So in my case, I would say that's about half an inch or so. And then I did fold that hem in and decided to hem. Now, a couple of months ago, I upcycled nearly identical pair of leggings and I also turned them into shorts. The fabric there was very, very similar in terms of properties. And there I finished the hem with a zigzag stitch. This time, I want to test out Mataflex stretch thread. And usually I use Eloflex by Coats & Clark, but I have a very special sewing friend who sent me a spool of Mataflex. So you know what? I decided to give it a go. Just a straight stitch all the way around and it creates a flexible hem. Yes, it's not as stretchy as a hem made by a serger or a cover stitch machine, but it does have flexibility to it. So I'm excited to see how it's going to wear on my little one. Now for the waistband, I actually have this little piece of exposed elastic. It's a remnant from a previous project and I can't really use it for much of anything else, but it might just be perfect for the top of these leggings. Plus it has enough width over here on the top so that way it will sit comfortably on her waist. And remember I did a tutorial for you guys for a gathered skirt with this exact exposed elastic. So the technique here is going to be absolutely the same. I did fuse the edges of the elastic here with a little bit of flame and I'm actually going to overlap them this time like so and do a zigzag stitch to secure it in place. Once done, it will look like so, nice and flat. And now what I want to do is to make markings that will correspond on my waistband with the center back, center front, and side seams if you have a side seam. If not, just the folded edge that would represent the side seam on your leggings or pants. Now please note that these are leggings, so these are highly stretched when you are putting them on. That's the reason why the waistband right now is basically matching the same circumference as the top of the leggings. If you would have a gathered waist or a gathered pant or something like that, of course you would need to either gather that and then attach it to the waistband or stretch the waistband as you're attaching this to the top of your garment. Here I have overlapped the elastic with the top of the leggings by about ½ an inch and now onto the sewing machine to stitch it all down with a zigzag stitch. Now after all, I did have to stretch the waistband just the tiniest bit, but after I finished attaching it with a zigzag stitch, that's it. Leggings turned into a legging shorts with a sparkly new waistband are here and ready to be worn again and enjoyed for hopefully another 6 months or so. This next project is a pair of shorts for my husband, and these are really old, and they have already gone under 2 rounds of repairs, and they just keep breaking and breaking, and each time in a new spot too. And my husband absolutely loves these shorts, and I think partially the reason why they keep breaking is because of how fabric is made. Each little square is sewn on separately, and I think that creates that extra weight that just keeps pulling and pulling and keeps ripping the shorts. So today I think I might have another solution of how to preserve these shorts and also make the future repairs a little bit easier. Now the basic idea is to make a lining for these shorts, which then I can use for patching many holes that they have. This way, when there is a future hole, the job is going to be much easier as well. So with that in mind, I went through my fabrics in search for some really nice soft cotton, so that way the lining is breathable. And I actually found this pant muslin that I made for myself some time ago. The fabric here is super soft and, very important, in the perfect cream color that I need. So I copied the muslin onto the paper, so that way I can then take it apart and use it for this future project. Now to create a lining itself, I simply followed the shape of the shorts minus the waistband and making them an inch shorter than the hem itself. Now these shorts aren't really fitted, so that allows for some room of error. Now if you want a really precise lining, what I would do is I would construct a copy of the pattern and then use that pattern for the lining. Now once done, the first step was to attach each leg at the time using hand sewing stitches. That way the lining is flexible and it's not going to pull. And if you attach your lining to the seam allowances, you won't see it from the outside at all. Now this is what it looks when one side is complete, and then following exactly the same steps, I did the other side. Now all of the markings that you see here in red, like for example this one, those are going to wash out because this is made with water-soluble marker. I just wanted to point it out there. And also all of the edges of the lining have been finished with a serger, so that way they won't fray. Now here, after I attach the lining, the last step for me is to mend all of those many holes that these shorts have. And here I'm following exactly the same principle as I did when we were mending jeans in one of the previous videos. Basically, you do a row of vertical stitches, then you do a row of horizontal stitches, and you repeat that until the whole area that you need to repair is complete. And that's it. After that, the shorts are wearable again. Now I know this is not the most exciting upcycle, but it's a very useful one. So I thought that this could give you some ideas if you also have some garments, shorts or tops, or maybe a pair of pants or a skirt that could use a little bit of lining in order to repair some of the holes on the surface. Next, I have this pair of pants, and you know what? I was hoping to upcycle this into something for my little one, and I thought I had enough fabric, enough good fabric, because these are really old, and you can clearly see a lot of wear and tear on the knees, then also some wear and tear in the back, and I really thought that there's enough fabric for some sort of project. But after looking at it a little bit closer, the only thing that I possibly could make is like a pair of shorts, maybe, and my little one doesn't need any more shorts. But I did, however, use this pair of pants in order to copy them and turn them into a pattern, and I did a full video on how to do that, step by step, explaining my thought process. So definitely check it out. I will leave it for you in the description. So if you have a favorite pair of pants or a top, you can definitely turn that into a pattern and then make a copy of it. This next upcycle, spoiler alert, it is a fail. It is a fail for right now though, I must say, because I did put it aside to give me a little bit of space for thought and space for finding that solution, and I'm pretty sure I will be able to come up with the ways how to remedy that. But for right now, it is a fail. And I did want to include that because no matter how much I want to bring you the positive and the successful upcycles and remakes, life is life, and where we have the highs, we have the lows, because that's just part of the journey. So long story short, I had these palazzo pants that I made really long time ago, and I wore them during my pregnancy, and let me tell you, they were not meant for that. So what happened was I stretched out all the seams on a non-stretch garment, and basically everything where I had the seam, like the pleats or the pockets, everything stretched apart, and you can see the fabric and you can see that the garment has been stressed. So I really wanted to use the fabric and remake it into another pair of pants. What I did not take in consideration was how soft was the fabric and how little it can handle, because the original pant only featured front pockets and was on the gathered waist in the back and a flat front, and everything was pretty fluid. Here I wanted to do a zipper fly, which I did, and I wanted to do back pockets, which I did, and let me tell you, the fabric wanted to do nothing with it. And I tried everything, really soft stitches, hand stitching, and none of that worked. And even worse, when I would take out a seam, you could actually see the markings on the fabric. So basically you only get one chance, and if you fail at it, you fail at it. So as of this very moment, I have put it aside, and if something like this has happened to you, please don't lose your sojo. It just takes a little bit of time for our mind to process that, and I bet you will come up with even better idea on how to use and reuse what you have. Now, if you love to upcycle button-up shirts and you need more unique ideas, then click right over here. I have 3 upcycles for you. Each one of them is for a different person, and the first one I think is quite unique, so I'll see you right there. And thank you so much for watching, and until next video, happy sewing. Bye!